So do you think that Coinbase is going to acquired by another company? Because it seems like you work somewhere and they are acquired, right? Hello everyone, welcome to the Spotlight, an exclusive interview series with industry leaders about hot market topics. I'm Trong from Coin98 Insights, and today I'm super excited to introduce Segal, the head of listings at Coinbase. So welcome, Jack.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
So thanks for coming on. You were a product designer before entering the world of crypto. So what inspired you to make this transition and join the crypto industry?
Thanks for the great question. So I joined the crypto industry about 10 years ago, back when it was really the Bitcoin industry. That's all that existed. And for me, what was most interesting is the fact that crypto allowed you to have complete control and custody over your assets. And I saw it as a complete transformation of kind of digital property rights. So for me, the idea of sending value anywhere in the world without having to ask a bank or some intermediary for permission, the ability to freely cross border with value, I found quite interesting. And at the time, there wasn't really a lot of great design around crypto as well. As a designer, I saw the incredible opportunity in crypto. And one of the biggest barriers for crypto reaching mass adoption was the lack of great design. And so very early on, I've always been interested in improving these user experience of crypto.
So I see. So we are going to dive more into it a little bit. So as a head of listing at Coinbase, many people are curious to know about your role at Coinbase. So can you tell us more about your responsibility as Coinbase? This is the first time our audience had the opportunity to hear directly from someone in your position.
Yeah. So first off, I would just say that it's been incredible being in Vietnam and meeting a lot of the builders here. I think that the energy is just incredible, and we're excited to support the ecosystem. When we start to think about kind of some of the products that are based here, I mean, we've long supported, for example, Kyber Network, Coin98. We've invested in, as a company, Ancient Eights and many others like Summoners Arena. And so I think that we're really excited about growing the Vietnamese market. And we see a lot of potential here in the caliber of talent, the people, and the products. And so the listings process at Coinbase is quite complicated, but just to break it down, there's essentially 3 or 4 components of it. First off, we do a pretty lengthy review of any token we look at, and we look at it from a legal, a compliance, and a security perspective. And so just breaking each of those down, on the legal side, what we're looking at is the likelihood that that asset would be a security in the markets that we listed in. Coinbase strictly only lists non-securities on the platform. And so, and then secondly, we do a compliance analysis. So we're looking at KYC, anti-money laundering, and in making sure that it kind of upholds the compliance standards that we expect. And then finally, and very importantly, we do a very detailed security audit. And so if it's a blockchain, we'll do a complete teardown of the blockchain, and evaluate, for example, even its consensus mechanism and potential vulnerabilities for things like 51% attacks. And then if it's a token on some of the platforms that we support, for instance, we support tokens on Polygon Network and Avalanche and Solana and many others, in fact, then we do a complete review of the smart contract. And so for those types of security audits, we're looking at risk on the kind of governance side. We're looking at the ability for one person to sort of unilaterally take tokens from the holders, and other types of smart contract risk associated with the token. So that's the review process, and it's the most important process because no tokens can get listed without following that process. And just to give you an idea of how strict that process is, Coinbase has evaluated over 1,000 tokens since it started. of which we list a little over 200, right? So actually, the official number is greater than 90% of the tokens that we look at don't pass that process. And so, and then when we look at listing tokens on the platform, really it comes down to what are users most excited about. And so we look at various metrics that you would expect, such as market capitalization and volume. We might look at some of the softer aspects of an asset, such as the community. Certainly, we're going to look at the product itself and see what kind of traction it has. There's many ways to measure that, but we really do kind of a full, comprehensive review of all the assets that we list.
Yeah, interesting. So we are talking about Coinbase, and there's kind of a hot topic about Coinbase and the ESC recently. So with the recent SEC well notice given to Coinbase about its staking services, and the crypto community has been closely watching the developments. So how is Coinbase dealing with it, and what are your thoughts on the matter?
Yeah, look, I mean, so Coinbase was founded over 10 years ago. And it's one of the oldest companies that's been servicing the crypto industry to date. And when you think about kind of what defines Coinbase, I would really say it comes down to two things, and that's being the platform that's easiest to use and the platform which is most trusted. And when you start to talk about compliance and regulatory agencies such as the SEC, we've always made a very active and concerted effort to work closely with these agencies. And so since the beginning, we've worked with the SEC to make sure that our products are compliant. And in fact, when it comes to staking and asset listings, these are all products or assets that we're very comfortable with, and we believe very strongly don't violate any of the securities laws in the United States. And so I mentioned our review process before for asset listings. It's something that we care very deeply about, and we've invested a lot of time, energy, and money into. And so every asset that we list on the platform, we're very confident in its legal status. And then in terms of staking, there's been a lot of interest in staking recently. There's been actually a number of actions that have been taken by regulatory agencies, but our staking service is different than some of the others. Essentially, we are just operating a technical service for our customers. We are passing on the rewards from the blockchain directly to our customers after we take a fee. And we're not guaranteeing any particular rate ourselves. It is just the blockchain and the customer and us in the middle, helping to facilitate that technical transaction.
Yeah, I see. So another thing about the ESC, so with the more tightening ESC regulation in the wake of several high-profile crypto companies collapse last year. So I'm curious about the impact of FTX demise as a centralized exchange on companies like Coinbase or Binance. So given the fact that users tend to switch to decentralized entities or the wallet to store their asset after such incident. So how do you think about that?
Yeah, so it's interesting that Coinbase has always had different types of products, right? So we have the more centralized products, the exchange itself, and we do custody for our users, right? But then we also have the much more decentralized projects, right? So we have Coinbase Wallet, where you can store your crypto assets, your NFTs, you can use DEXs, et cetera. First off, what I would just say is that it's an absolute tragedy what happened with FTX, and if any of the kind of allegations are true, I mean, it's really kind of a disaster for the industry that's going to take some time for us to recover from. Part of the most, one of the most unfortunate aspects of that is that I think what's happening is that because of the regulatory uncertainty in the United States, a lot of teams are actually looking to work with some of the more overseas exchanges who may have a more questionable practices in terms of how they run their operations. And so when you look at the kind of damage that's been caused, to investors, to builders, to project teams who may have held their custody on FTX, right? Investors who that was their primary platform for. And I hope everyone gets compensated as much as possible, but it'll take a while to recover from that. And what I would say is that, yes, it's going to likely push more activity, probably in two directions. I'd say the first direction is to the more regulated companies like Coinbase that since the start have really proactively tried to make sure that we follow the absolute best we can, the law. And we follow all the best practices that you would find in many of the kind of exchanges in the securities world, even though we don't necessarily need to. For instance, we never trade against our customers, for example, and we are what's called a qualified custodian in New York, which is a very high sort of bar in terms of regulatory oversight. And so I think that what you're going to see is, for people who hold a lot of crypto assets, or for companies who are holding a lot of crypto assets, they're going to be pushed much more towards the more regulated. And then separately, I completely agree with you that also when you have collapses like FTX, you're also going to have people pushed in the complete opposite direction as well, which is more decentralized, right? And this is where companies like Coin98 shine. And Coinbase has always been very supportive of that, right? Like we have the centralized exchange, and it's a big part of our business. It's very important to us, but also, we see the crypto economy as just that. It's a completely new economy where you're going to have decentralized applications that people are going to use, and we want to help enable people to get online on chain in the same way that they were getting online. Maybe 10 years ago when the internet was first exploding. And so we're very supportive of that move to decentralized applications as well, with things like Coinbase Wallet and Base.
A lot of good points. So you mentioned about Base before. So the launch of Coinbase Layer 2 network Base was met with excitement from the crypto community. However, we know that the Ethereum Layer 2 at the moment, the rat race of Layer 2, appears at the moment, right? Because other Layer 2, they have the benefit of issuing new tokens and implicitly the promising future airdrop to incentivize the on-chain transaction. But as Coinbase has no plan to issue new token network. And we also talk about the growing concerns about centralized entity in DeFi. So how does Base plan to succeed?
That is a great question. So first off, let me start with a high level overview of what Base is for folks that are new to Base. Base is a brand new layer 2 protocol built on Ethereum and leveraging the Optimism stack that's been incubated by Coinbase. And with it, you're going to see a layer 2 that is incredibly easy to use, very inexpensive, and also quite fast. The layer 2 landscape is very interesting and has been growing very fast lately. And at Coinbase, we support many layer 2s directly. For example, we may list many of the platforms on our exchange. We also might even support direct deposits and withdrawals to those. For instance, we support Polygon in that way, right? And we've even invested with Coinbase Ventures in many layer 2s. And one sort of saying we have when it comes to our sort of philosophy around layer 2s is that we're building a bridge, not an island, right? And we want to bring everyone on chain, and we don't think that this is a winner-take-all market. And so I do think you're asking an interesting question when you start to talk about what differentiates Base from other layer 2 platforms. But at the same time, I would say that we believe that there are going to be many different layer 2 platforms, and Base will coexist with each and every one of them. And we look forward to partnering with all of them. And many of them we already do. So what I would say is that one of the biggest differentiators between Base and others is that it's going to allow us to bring our over 100 million users on chain and all of their assets on chain as well. So we also, for our users, custody about $100 billion worth of assets. And so we're talking about really, for many users that are newer to crypto, maybe have never used a layer 2 platform before, they felt like it's expensive to do transactions on chain. Their first experience on chain might be with Base. And they might use a decentralized social network, right? Like Farcaster, or they might use a decentralized application on Base for lending or finance. But over time, we expect that again, going back to that philosophy of it being a bridge, not an island, they might venture out to Polygon, they might go to Solana, Avalanche, Arbitrum, even the main Optimism network itself, right? And so over time, I think you're going to see a lot of these kind of integrations with other networks and the standards to support that come to be. But that's a little bit about Base. I mean, we just announced that we're on testnet a few weeks ago. We're eyeing mainnet in May to June, and the sort of developer excitement around it's been pretty incredible so far, especially here in Vietnam.
Yeah, I see. So Base seems to like an opportunities for Coinbase to capture new user base. So beside that, which are current opportunities and also challenges facing Coinbase, or I say crypto industry in general at the moment?
You know, that's a great question. I think that the reality is that on-chain is still a relatively small part of the crypto economy right now. A lot of what's happening in crypto right now is trading. And a lot of that happens on centralized exchanges, but increasingly is moving to L2s because it's inexpensive and fast. Some of the opportunities, I mean, the most obvious opportunity is just bringing the many hundreds of millions of people that are already using crypto on chain. I'm not talking about doing a trade. I'm talking about using decentralized applications. And in that sense, we sort of envision this open permissionless app store that anyone anywhere in the world can deploy apps to. Anyone can use as well. It's available anywhere. You can exchange value freely with anyone. And we think that transition is really as important as the transition that we made when we went from offline to online, right? In the late 90s, early 2000s. In the same way that, WordPress and Facebook and Instagram kind of give a voice to everyone, we feel that, value exchange and the ability to send payments and use decentralized applications anywhere in the world is going to be just as powerful. So basically what happened for information, the unlocking of information, we believe that the same thing is going to happen for finance and applications as well. So in terms of opportunities, people ask, are you excited about gaming? Are you excited about DeFi? Are you excited about this or that? The reality is we're excited about everything, right? Because we're talking about kind of fundamentally replacing a lot of, both the sort of financial plumbing and infrastructure that we have around the world, as well as creating an entire new type of application that is open and available to anyone in the world. And so we're excited about everything.
Yeah, so you said that Coinbase, there are many things you're excited about. So how about you? Like from an investor perspective, which kind of project would excite you in the future?
The reality is that I still think we are 1% of the way through crypto's impact on the world, right? And so I still think that we need a lot of the infrastructure. Base is an example of that infrastructure to basically enable mass adoption to crypto. And like I was saying before, when crypto truly hits mass adoption, you're not even going to, in many ways, know that you're using crypto. You're just going to be using applications and getting the value out of it. For instance, me being able to send you $50 for a fraction of a penny on Base from my home in San Francisco to you in Saigon is one simple but incredibly powerful idea. And really, I think that it's up to the developers to sort of kind of paint the future that we're going to see. I would say that personally speaking, I get incredibly excited about gaming and DeFi and everything that we've already seen so far. But a lot of it is that you couldn't really imagine in the 90s like what Netflix was going to be, right? Or like what Instagram was going to be. This stuff didn't exist yet. And so imagine, being in the 90s and thinking that you could call an Uber on your phone and it would arrive and you could take the taxi anywhere. A lot of ideas are just kind of emergent based on the new properties that come out. And when you think about the emergent properties of crypto, right? So the fact that you can custody your own assets, right? You can take them anywhere. You can send them to anyone without going through an intermediary or asking permission. You can deploy apps that anyone, anywhere in the world can use, and soon you can do sort of any type of transaction for a very low fee. What can you build with that? I mean, the reality is you can build anything, right? And so really, I'm excited about everything. And when I meet, and I've met many builders here in Ho Chi Minh City, I get this sense of kind of excitement here as well, and this entrepreneurialism in Vietnam that is really quite different than many countries that I've visited. And so I'm excited to see what is unique to the Vietnamese in the Vietnamese market that we can bring on chain, and that is something that I'm excited to see in the next few years.
Lovely, very lovely. So you were talking before about that many activities in crypto focus on trading. Then we have the insider trading in crypto. So I read the news that one former employee of Coinbase was convicted of insider trading, right? So which measure that Coinbase is taking at the moment to prevent this happening in the future?
Yeah, so going back to, how do we define Coinbase as a company? One of the most important aspects of it is that we aim to be the most trusted company in crypto, right? So when we notice anything like that, we take it incredibly seriously. And in fact, when it comes to that insider trading complaint that was filed earlier this year, we actually helped report that activity to the authorities. We have a very sophisticated program internally for trade surveillance to make sure that there's no insider trading that's happening at the company. When it comes to that type of behavior, we have zero tolerance for it. And so we're fully supportive of the law when it comes to that case. And when it comes to our sort of trading program, we have all sorts of restrictions on what assets you can trade, when you can trade them, and how we sort of manage all of those requirements. So very similar to what you would find in kind of a traditional exchange company, where you might have like trading windows and various kind of requirements around how employees can trade and what they can trade, as well as various types of disclosures and whatnot.
So very insightful answer. So, now I want to know a little bit more about yourself. So when I read your profile, so I figured out that you founded Blockchain Curated, which were later acquired by Earn.com. So at Earn.com, you were a product manager. And after that, Earn.com was acquired by Coinbase. So now where you work now. So how do you feel about this event? So do you think that Coinbase is going to acquired by another company? Because it seems like you work somewhere and they are acquired, right? So
my journey in crypto goes way back. Like I was saying, back when it was Bitcoin only. I, in 2017, started a company called Blockchain Curated. And really the mission of that was all about crypto education. I felt like there was an incredible amount of information in crypto, but how do you sort of separate signal in all of the noise? And so that was the mission of Blockchain Curated. And so what I would do is I would curate who I felt were the best thought leaders in crypto, their writings, and I would feature them on the website. And so through that, I met someone named Balaji Srinivasan, who is the co-founder of Earn, who later became the CTO of Coinbase, someone who is absolutely brilliant. I later joined Earn and helped on the product side there. At Earn, we were able to scale that platform up quite a bit, and it was ultimately acquired by Coinbase, where I've been for the last 5 years. Coinbase has been traded on the NASDAQ since 2021. We've acquired companies like Tagomi and many others that have become kind of important pillars of our business. And so I think that right now is a really interesting time in the mergers and acquisition market, just because we're in the midst of what seems like a crypto winter, and so valuations have come down quite a bit. Yet you still have some incredible talent that's working on some really important projects. And so more to come there.
I see. So during your time at Coinbase, do you have any particularly memorable stories or moments that you would like to share with us today?
There's so many that it's hard to pick a favorite one, but I would say one of the most memorable was helping to launch USDC. This was a project that was spearheaded by Balaji and a few of our incredible engineers at Coinbase. This was sort of a nights and weekend project. And I love those kind of projects where you just get people in a war room and you just figure out how to design and build a product and launch it as quickly as possible. And for us, it was really important that we launched USDC as quickly as possible. It was a very kind of strategic time that we chose to launch it. And so, yeah, we would have people come in on nights and weekends. We would order food to the office. It felt very much like a startup. I think Coinbase was still quite small at that time. We're 3,500 employees now, but at the time we were probably around 300. And so those are some of my kind of most special times at Coinbase when I kind of forged the most friendships was, meeting people at 10 o'clock at night, working on a product launch that we're all really excited about. And, this was when stable coins were still in their infancy, right? I mean, USDC was tiny back then. And so really helping to launch that, just maybe a dozen of us in a room to seeing where USDC is today. It's one of the largest stable coins in the world with market cap over $40 billion. That's really given me perspective on the scale of crypto and the global reach of it and just how fast something can grow in a short period of time.
I see. Interesting. I think this is our whole interview, but do you have anything you want to share but I haven't asked you about yet?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say is just we're incredibly excited to be spending time in Vietnam. I come here once to twice a year. It's a very special place for me. And I spent the last week meeting founders, entrepreneurs, and builders here in Vietnam. And the energy here is just incredible. And I'm so excited for what people are building here. And I would say for anyone building on Base, reach out to us at Build on Base on Twitter. You can find me at Segal on Twitter. And generally, we're just really excited to see what people build on our Base platform. So thank you so much for having me.
Great, sweet words about Base. So, okay, thanks for coming on and have with us very conversation. Thank you.